Hello, 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 and welcome to Intercultural Spark. Hello, 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 and welcome to Intercultural Spark, that show where we talk to people who are running values or purpose-centered businesses and are doing amazing things in the world while also running businesses and living lives and really just making amazing things out of small businesses that really have huge and big impact. So I'm your host, Deanna Schass. I'm the founder of Intercultural Spark, where anthropology meets marketing and communications. And welcome. If you're watching live, as we're live, we invite you to ask questions and leave, say hello in the comments. Of course, if you're watching after the fact, whether it's in video or podcast, we're delighted that you've chosen to join us. So our guest today is the amazing and wonderful Sarah Victory. So Sarah has spoken to over 3,000 distinguished audiences and over 3.5 million people across Europe, the US, Asia, South America. She is amazing. She's also wildly popular and has been on television and radio and podcasts. But what's funny is anyone who's in PR and marketing knows your clients always say, like, well, can't you get me on Oprah? And we're always like, okay, it doesn't work quite like that. Unless, of course, you're working with Sarah, because her clients have all been on like the Today Show and Oprah and all the amazing places that people want to be. And she's worked with IBM and Ford and all kinds of large companies. She's also the author of 3 books. Double Your Business in 1 year or less. Can't wait to find out how we do that. How to be powerful and do something brave every day. So we're going to invite Sarah, but before we bring her on, you know that we always like to start with our flash exercise. So with our flash, I've converted into aerobics instructor. Our flash exercise is interpretive aerobics. It is an exercise that you can do at your desk, but it has deeper meaning that connects to the message of our guest today. So it's noon. If you're watching live, if you haven't gotten up from your desk, you need to be doing an exercise anyway, and everyone should do an exercise like midday. So this one is, let me just scooch into the corner here for a second. So this is a cardio exercise. Sit back in your chair. All you're going to do is do a double knee. So do double knee left, double knee right. So you got 2 knees. That's your exercise. Let's add an arm. Your arm comes up, over, up, and back. So the arm comes up, over, up. Now let's move the legs with it. So you lift your knee, cross your legs, up and back. Lift, cross, up, and back. I'm going to bring on Sarah. I see that you're doing it with us. Are you trying our exercise? So it's an up, cross, up.
Oh, definitely.
If you're watching the podcast, with your arm, you raise your hand to the ceiling, wave in front of your face, bring it up and back down. There you go. So it's a big wave as your knee comes up and your legs cross. You can do that sitting at your desk. You can also do it standing. So if you've been sitting for a while, stand up and do it. All right. At the end of the show, Sarah, I'm going to let you guess why we picked that exercise for you. So welcome. It is so great to see you.
Nice to see you.
Yeah.
You look lovely.
I want to get, I've been writing, I actually wrote about this morning. You talk about this, but it's that idea of the one thing. Like, you're so clear. Like, when we talked to, like, the one thing I do is I double your business. Can you just talk about the idea of what your one thing is? But then I want to talk about why it's so important for the one thing. And I'm going to go back into businesswoman mode while you do that.
You get grown up clothes. You look beautiful always. I love the look. I love the look. Let's go to class. That sounds great. Yeah, absolutely. That was wonderful. I actually needed that. That felt great. Okay, come by my house every day. Feel free. Yeah, I love it. Come to the office. We'll all do it together. Yeah. The one thing, I think it becomes challenging, I think, for a lot of us who are good at a lot of things. You're good at a lot of things. I'm good at a lot of things. And it's challenging to express that in a way that's succinct. And what happens is, like in the early days, people would say, what do you do? And I didn't have an answer, and my stomach would clench up and hurt. And I would say, well, I don't know. But I keep hiring me. I must be really good at whatever it is
Right.
that I do,
Well,
but I
or a
can't
lot of
explain
people
it.
just list
You know,
tasks. They start listing the
oh yes,
tasks
I
that
do
they
this,
do.
I do this, I do this, I do this.
Right,
No,
right,
no one cares.
exactly.
And people buy what they want the most and what they can justify the easiest. So you have to
Say that
find a way.
again. Say that again.
People
People
buy
buy.
what they want the most and what they
Okay.
can justify the easiest, which is
Hmm.
why everybody will tell you that they have a business coach who's helping them double their business in less than a year. And no one will tell you that they have a therapist,
Mm.
because it may be what they want the most, but it's not necessarily easy for them to talk about. So what I finally realized after years and years and years was I was talking about the smaller components of what I did, and then my clients were the ones who were saying, wow, we quadrupled our business in 1 year. Like the guerrilla selling guys that I worked with, we had 17 programs going, or 17 people doing 400 programs around the world for them for that book and for the trainings that they were doing. And they said, wow, we quadrupled our business in 1 year. Now they've sold 53 million copies of those books. And it was interesting to be with them toward the beginning of it. But they were the ones who said, you should start calling your very creatively titled program double your business in 1 year or less, because quadruple your business in 1 year or less sounds kind of stupid. So I ran with that.
Does it
And then
sound
people,
stupid, or does it just sound like people are gonna be like, yeah, right, 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 right? Like it
quadruple, yes.
sounds
So just
unattainable,
getting it
maybe.
out of your mouth is
Oh,
impossible. So we
quadruple. Sure.
quadruple, yeah. So that's like I have rented lips at a certain point with that. I don't get it. Yeah. So it was really interesting to me. And then I was doing this speech for a woman for a conference, a women's conference in California, and it was mainly solopreneurs and startups. And so I was trying to, you try to gear it to the audience a little bit. And then I had this woman walk up to me, and she said, "I thought you were wonderful." And she said, "I would love to double my business." I said, "Great, that's exactly that's why I'm here to help. What questions do you have?" So we sat down for coffee, and she said, she started talking about this division and that division. She had this
Mhm.
beautiful British accent. She was like, "Oh, over here we have this and over that." And I thought, "Oh, aren't you lovely?" And she said, and I said, "Wait, you aren't a startup or a sole proprietor, are you?" And she goes, "Oh, no, no." I said, "How big is your company?" 75 million.
Oh,
75
wow.
million. And I said, "Oh, wow. Okay." So I had to turn my brain in a whole other direction. And she said, I said, "So what do you think you need to do to double your business?" Because now I've gotten smart. And now I say, do you have the infrastructure to really double? Because now we bring in the infrastructure if they don't have it before we let them double, so they don't implode. I learned that the hard way. And then, so
You
I said,
actually
okay,
bring in the staffing to give them the
yeah,
infrastructure, so it's your
yeah.
team that goes in to help people
We
through that
we
growth.
bring in temporary HR, temporary COO or fractional COO,
That's so
CFOs,
important because
CEOs,
oftentimes
mhm,
with doubling your
overseas
business,
people.
yeah, you get to that point where it's like there's that issue of your cash flow and your staffing to be able to actually sustain. Like you've got to get the new
Mhm.
clients, but at the same time, you need the staffing and the infrastructure in place.
It's very tricky, and a lot of people
Interesting.
think they need to have all these full-time people, and we've been able to get people, full-time people from overseas, where because the American dollar is so high right now, and
Mm.
in the Philippines, it translates to $6 or $8 is a huge amount of money over there. So and they're really in need of the work. So if it's virtual people, we find a way to provide them with our sister company that vets them for us. Global Vetted VAs, we love them. They're great. Joey
What's the
Vitale,
name
you
of the
probably.
company?
Global Vetted VAs helps us,
Okay.
with acquiring the exact right people for people. And then our company trains all the people so that on the first day that they're ready to go. So I said, so we do a lot of that infrastructure stuff now of temporary people that they need or long-term people they need. And, in 10 hours a week, with somebody really good, you can have a whole company or several companies run. It's amazing. So I said, "Do you have the infrastructure?" She said, "Absolutely, yes." I said, "Great." I said, "Well, you seem smart. I bet you know what you would need to do to be able to." Oh, yeah. Shout out to Joey Vitale, Global Vetted VAs, and Gerald, who runs that program, our sister company. They're fantastic. Um, but yes, and she said, "We need to get into Coke and Pepsi and Quaker." And I said, well, then let's do that. And she said, oh, no, no, you don't understand. This is when she sort of Velcroed her wrist to her forehead like this for 30 minutes. But I've been trying for 15 years. It's so hard. It'll never happen. It's so difficult. La, la, la. And I finally, I was like, I get it. It's hard. I know it can be really, really tough. Are you done yet? She goes, yeah, I'm done. I'm done. I said, okay, so why don't we just get you into Coke and Pepsi and Quaker? Because you just told me, she just told me she could double, that week if we got her into all three.
Right. And it sounds
And
like she was already like at the size though where she could do that. Like that does not seem, at least as an outsider, at the size that she was, it seems like she could manage clients that size, right?
She could, yeah, well, yeah, she could they could definitely, they had everything that they needed. They just needed to get into they needed to penetrate where they hadn't yet penetrated.
What's interesting though, because you started by saying like, oh, there's people who go to their business coach, which they'll talk about, but then they won't talk about their therapist. But I got to tell you, that moment of saying, oh no, I'm this, I can't do that. Like that overlay with that's a conversation for your therapist too, because it's these ingrained ideas that you have about yourself.
Yes, and I think, when I talk to a lot of CEOs during the week, obviously, and it's interesting that there is this parallel between what they see, how they see themselves. Do they see themselves as a global leader? Which is exactly what this particular gal, we'll call her Mary, even though that's not her name, obviously. Mary had to see herself in a whole different way. She had to see herself as a leader in the industry and go up against who she needed to go up against to really be where she needed to be. But I think you've got to find what you're really here for, what you believe in, what you stand for, and then you have to tie that to that mission, to who am I here to help, and then what do they want to, what would they like to pay the most for, and then when you tie all of that together, you've got this magic point where everything changes. And that's, I think, what happened for us is, there's not too many companies that don't want to double their business, and not always in less than a year. In her case, we did it. I got her into Coke after about 8 months, Pepsi, and then Quaker at 2.2 years and a month. And we had a big party, and they went to 156 million. Wow. Now I'm going back to England in October to help them go from 156 million to
now they're going to double again.
Now they want, because now she's like, we want to double again. So like, of course
here's the thing, Sarah, as a coach and a leader working with other people, I know that it's in your nature to want to talk about everybody else. But the whole point that we like to talk about Intercultural Spark is the idea of how business people are doing. And the reason I say that is you're working with people. There's some of these major global companies, but there's also a lot of smaller businesses that are doing amazing things. You're having a huge impact. Can you just share? I know this doesn't come naturally to you, but I want you to talk about you for a minute, because you've talked about how you had to switch your mindset. Like when your business changed, what did you have to shift about how you viewed yourself and what you did to get yourself to that next level?
That's a fabulous question. Yeah, I had this epiphany moment. One of my best friends said, "You are such a great global leader," and I said, "Oh, no. I don't." It came out of my mouth like it wasn't even it was nonsensical. But I said, "Oh, no. I help other leaders to be successful. I help other leaders double their business in 1 year or less. That's what I do. That's what we do." And she said, "You speak to 10,000 people at a time. That makes you a leader of other leaders. You are a global leader." And I went, "Oh." And I think all of a sudden what flashed in my head was, going to Central Park as a kid and seeing all these statues of men on horseback with really big really big swords. They were overcompensating for something, but really big, and there were no women. And then I remember going to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. It was a trip with my family. And I remember going and standing in there, and there were plenty of big statues of women, but they were all naked. Right. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, boys are leaders and girls are not. And I did not realize that never left my head.
Oh,
never, ever left my head. Unconscious idea of what made sense and didn't make sense within my brain. And all of a sudden I could hear in my head, now is the time you have to lead your tribe. And I thought, I'm not sure what that means. But I went back and I started writing another book that's coming out next year. We're doing a membership site for people next year. Things where I could allow all these wonderful people I know that are, you're a part of that wonderful tribe. We love, love, love. But I realized I was going to have to step up and create a revolution for people who did have small and medium-sized businesses, and and like I spent all my time trying to figure out why other people are on the planet and what they could do and what they're meant to do and how they can get there. I had to stop and say, what am I meant to do and how am I meant to lead? And I had to step up and lead in a way that I was never consciously doing, and that was just momentous for me. Yeah. And then
Did
everything
you have
changed.
someone who helped you do that, or did you kind of apply your own process? Sometimes we forget that we can apply our own processes to ourselves.
It's funny because I always say to people, I work with people who are also consultants, and they say, "Oh gosh, I ask people this stuff all day long," and I say the same thing to them that I had to say to myself, which is, brain surgeons are not allowed to do their own brain surgery. So I have fabulous coaches who asks me all the same questions that I ask my clients, because I have no perspective. I had no idea that people perceived me as a leader already. I had no idea that I needed to step up and lead in a different or bigger arena, in a different way, or just be clear about that level of leadership of wanting to build people and companies up, wanting to make a difference in a way that my unique skill set and my soul was meant to do. So I had Linda McCabe. I don't know if you know Linda McCabe. She was my co-author on the last book. Sure. I love that woman so much. But she was with me and then she said, "Okay, how are we going to make this happen, and how are we going to create this?" And we did a live event, and then we've been doing Zoom events, and then we launched in about 11 months with the membership site. So it's been interesting. That was very, very helpful. And I had another wonderful coach that some people are familiar with, named Sabrina Brahm, out in California. And she also was the one that said, you have to step up. She said, do you have somebody in your pocket I don't know about who can lead your particular tribe and support your particular tribe in becoming the best they can be? And she said, to quote, I remember this, she said, to quote John F. Kennedy, "A rising tide raises all the ships," and you're just going to create this wonderful place for those, that tide to rise. And I said, I can do that. I can do that.
Well, what's interesting about that, though, is just having known you for a bit, your entire approach to business seems to start with kindness and generosity. Like, you're very generous with your time and your ideas, just in the process of getting to know a business and see if it's someone that you should work with. Like, what's your guiding? Does that connect to your guiding purpose or who you see yourself as a person?
I think it does. A long time ago, I realized that cold calling is terrible. And so early on, I said, what do I like to do? And I have this theory that every one of us, there's a form of sales or marketing that we actually like, or that our sales, and we have to look at our salespeople too and say, which form do they like? Do they like to write? Do they like social media? Do they like to talk to people? And I knew I liked to talk to people. I knew I was a decent speaker, and I knew I loved to bring out the best in every human being that I'm lucky enough to be surrounded by. I love to build up people and build up companies. That's my favorite thing to do. And I've done it within, my own company. I had a company before that, Broadway Theater Company, as you may recall. So it all of a sudden it just dawned on me that's really what I wanted to do. And so I started saying, okay, I will give half an hour or an hour to anybody that wants to talk to me who's a good human being, and we'll see where it goes. And some of those people become my employees for years on end. Some of them become clients. Some of them become referral partners. Some of them just recommend a great book or a networking event, or become my friend and we go shopping. I mean, it doesn't matter. But I gather great, brilliant human beings, and I do everything in my power to support them. And then it's been miraculous, because they'll say, oh, I need to pay you for today. And I know a lot of consultants are like, yes, I need, however many dollars for this 10 seconds of my time. But I figured out, we don't do any marketing, we do hardly any social media. We do nothing. We just stand around and wait for
word of mouth.
We just wait for referrals to come in. Now, of course, it's been 20 something years. So, so that is part of that.
But I know that
it's also,
four or five,
Oh, you're wonderful.
Oh, I know.
Thank
I've
you
referred
very
at
much.
least 4 or 5 people to. I don't know if anything ever comes of it, but what I always
Thank you.
say
You have
is,
wonderful. You always know wonderful people. Thank you.
okay, but I'm always like, Sarah's fantastic. She's the best at what she does, and actually, I hope this is okay. Sometimes I say that even if you don't end up working together, you're going to get so much out of just this meeting that it's really worthwhile to. It's always worthwhile to talk to you. It feels like you always just get things out of it.
Oh,
that sounds
lovely.
bad. Yes, I'm glad that it sounds
lovely. No, that sounds
I
lovely.
didn't mean you get something out of it, like.
Well, no, because I mean, you don't want people to sort of be stuck in a conversation that's not useful or helpful to them. And it's nice because good people don't want to take anything for free, and they shouldn't. They want to be reciprocal. And so I learned after a while to just say, I'm happy to help you today, no charge. However, free but not free. I really would love you to spread some great rumors about how much I helped you today. Put it on social media. You could do a LinkedIn review.
In that
whatever.
case, I'm like the best mouthpiece for you, because
You're awesome. You're awesome. Well, you're so smart, and you have such a great network yourself, and you're so clear on who you are and what you stand for, and people just adore you. So I'm glad to be part of the fan club. Yeah.
Thank you. That's
yeah. So
that'll be my mind shift. I'm like, oh, that's right. Yes, I am that way. Hey,
yes, you are.
Thank you. Let's talk about so you have a number of books. The Double Your Business, which you've said that's like the core of your business. So that's
that's all we do. we double
great.
people's
everything
business
comes
in a lot of weird. We double people's businesses in a lot of weird ways. We tend to work with service-based businesses, and we have like an on-staff ghostwriter to make people more of a thought leader. We help people with their TED Talks. We help people get into the Speakers Hall of Fame. It's just very eclectic.
How do you get everyone? And you get everyone on the Today Show and Oprah, all the places that no one else knows. That's like a secret skill that you have for sure. But you must maintain relationships, or she's not gonna. You're going, I'm not telling my secret.
No, I'm happy to tell. No, I'll tell anybody. I know, but it's so funny. But I'm happy. It's like, if you want to do that much work, please feel free. Go ahead.
Okay.
Well, and it depends upon what's right for your business. I mean, I've had people come to me who'd already been on Oprah, and it did, back when Oprah was on Super Soul Sunday now, but and their business went nowhere. And so there's a lot of people that I say, I don't understand why you want to talk to Oprah. I'm sure she's lovely. I'd like to hang with her myself. But if you're in the corporate, if you're like if you're a corporate speaker or consultant or something like that, I don't know if there's how many corporate CEOs are sitting around watching Super Soul Sunday, but maybe they are. I don't know. So,
good point. So I have a question for you. So I was going to lead to your other book, which is Do Something Brave Every Day. And I think that you have a story about being carjacked that ties into bravery.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you tell us?
Do you want me to share? Do you want me to share? Yeah.
Yeah.
A bunch of years ago, before I got married, I went to this fabulous party, and I'm wearing my brand new dress. I'm so psyched. And the party goes till all hours, and I'm having a wonderful time. And I get in my car, and I'm in California at the time. That's where I lived in. And I'm going down Pacific Coast Highway. Now, if you've ever been around Pacific Coast Highway, it's very beautiful, and there's ocean, and it smells amazing, and the salt and all that. So I'm going along, and I'm singing, and I get back to my house, and it's California, so it's always warm. So I just parked in the driveway, didn't even bother going to into my garage, and I see this guy to the side of me, and it was like 2:30 in the morning. It was kind of late, and I look over, and I see this guy, and he comes rushing out of the bushes right next to my house, and he comes up, and he's got his hand in his pocket like there's a gun there. And I looked up at him, and I said, oh my God. And he looks at me, and I can't see him. He's above, and he's got his hand there, and I hear, excuse me, ma'am, but I need you to take me to Anaheim. And my first thought was not, oh my gosh, I'm going to die, he's got a gun. My first thought was, oh, he called me ma'am. I really hate when people call me ma'am. I feel like somebody's grandma. I'm like, no, I hate this. So, and I thought, oh, wow, okay, that's a random thought. This is probably not a time to talk about that. By the time I've had a chance to think about that, and my heart rate is going up, he's already in the car next to me, because I had the windows open, and I had a chance to slide the things up. And he's sitting next to me, and I start to panic. And
So you hadn't even gotten out of your car yet.
No. And I didn't do any of the things you're supposed to do. You're supposed to, yell and scream and drive away and do. I did. I just panicked, and it was so odd. And so I start driving down the highway because I vaguely know where I'm going. And so we get to, we start driving towards this very sketchy area of, unfortunately, Anaheim. So we're driving. And I look over and I see he's got his hands out of his, I take a quick look. He's got his hands out of his pocket. He's probably 15 years old. And he's sobbing uncontrollably. And I said, "Oh my gosh, what's wrong?"
Yeah.
It's like totally codependent or something, but what's wrong? What's that? Are you okay? And he said, "I can't do anything right. I can't even take your car right. I don't even know how to drive." I was like, "Oh my gosh, he's so young, he doesn't know how to drive." And I was like, why are we going to Anaheim? What is going on, you poor thing? And I said, "And by the way, you were great. I was so scared. You were very frightening."
You're coaching him on how good he was as a carjacker.
I know. It's like, once a motivational speaker, always a motivational speaker. You can't help yourself. But he was a smart kid, and he started to laugh. And I said, "Why are we going to Anaheim?" And he told me this terribly sad story. He had been in and out of foster care. He got to go back for the first time that very day. And he walked into the living room, and there was a meth lab in the living room.
Of his new foster home?
Of his back to his parents' home again. He'd been in and out. He got to go home to his family, and there was a meth lab. And worse than that, they got an FBI raid 35 minutes after he arrived. He snuck out the bathroom, slid through a window, and walked until 2:30 in the morning when he saw me. And he knew some guys up in Anaheim, a little bit older, had a house, didn't even have a phone, nothing. And he said, and he thought, "Oh, I need that car, but I don't know how to drive it. I know, I'll just carjack her," as one does.
Wow.
But when you're 15, it makes sense. He didn't have a lot of options. And I said, "All right, this family of yours, I get it. It's tough. What do you want to do with your life? What do you want to have happen?" Because I had a really tough childhood. Most people wouldn't expect. And if I can be here driving this car with you in it, and with the life that I have, that I truly love, and with people that a tribe of people I adore, you can have whatever you want. What would you want if we could do magic? If you could have anything. He's like, "I'd work on old cars. I'd work on motorcycles, and I'd make them cherry, which is not a fruit." But and the next thing I know, we're getting to Anaheim, and I said, "Well, what would you need to do?" He said, "I could call my social worker. I'm going to get special housing. I'm going to make this happen." I said, "Great." And we got there. He stole one of my cards off the dash. And he said, "You believed in me, and I tried to steal your car." And I said, "Yeah, I totally believe in you." Ricky, I found out his name. And so a couple weeks later, my assistant got a call, and he said, she said, "I've talked to this really young guy. He has something real special to say." He said he wanted you to know he got special housing. He's working on old motorcycles and cars, making them cherry, which is not a fruit. And that he wanted you to know that he's discovered the secret of life. I said, "What's the secret of life? What do you mean what's the secret of life?" He said, "The secret of life is to do something brave every day. Just do something brave every day."
Oh, wow.
And that changed the trajectory of my life. I'd lived a lot of my life in fear, and I suddenly changed, and I realized that is the secret of life, is to do something important and valuable to you in the world every day, and to do something brave every day. And that's how I live my life now.
That is amazing. Now I'm going to laugh because what we have to do now, Sarah, we're at the end of our time. And so now that you've shared this amazing story of how you change someone's life and do something brave, I'm going to bring us back
mine.
to interpretive aerobics. I want to know why I chose that exercise for you. Can you guess why I chose that exercise for you?
I would love to say I had an answer, and I'd feel very, very smart. I have no idea, but I loved it. It was great.
Remember,
tell me.
It was the double knee. So you
double
do
knee.
So again, it's just
a knee tap,
knee tap, knee tap, knee tap in your chair, and you come up and over and up and down. So the reason is, if you're just doing a double knee tap, that's pretty basic. Like anyone could just sit and sort of do it. But then when you add the wave, you're like, "Hello, look at me." You bring attention to something. You make it bigger than what it is. And this part, I won't call you ma'am because that's not a ma'am thing. But what I find fascinating is that when you cross over, you're kind of sitting in that which tends to be a feminine way to sit with your legs crossed.
Very dramatic, yeah.
And being someone who is so focused on talking about money and talking about being a leader, like you said, it was either men in business or women who were naked. You're very feminine though. Like you haven't had to leave your
I'm really girly looking.
But kind of like you're would you say that like a girly girl, right? Like
I'm a real girly. I like shopping. I like clothes. I'm a clothes horse. I have too many shoes. Husband
but it comes
keeps saying,
across just the way
"Why'd you buy another purse?" Yeah, he's great.
Yes. But how wonderful that
Totally girly.
That you can be totally girly though. That because don't forget, like back in the, I mean, I'm wearing a blue suit today. I've got my blue suit on. I'm a IBM businesswoman.
I have my blue leather jacket on. That's close.
Yeah, that you can actually be feminine and be your true, authentic self while also being a business leader. See how deep that exercise was?
That was really deep. And that is absolutely true. I think we can be whatever we are and still be a great leader and still be, and still fulfill a purpose and a destiny we maybe didn't even know we had.
Yeah. And I think the one thing you said, that we can do all that. And sometimes we have to hear it, how it's reflected back to us, because sometimes it's just hard for us to see it ourselves. And that's why you might contact someone like Sarah, who's the amazing author, speaker, leader, CEO. She's the award-winning international speaker, Sarah Victory. She will double your business, double your impact, change the world. Sarah, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. Always so great to see you. I love your show. I'm a big fan, and I'm a big fan of yours. So it was a privilege and an honor to be asked. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much. And again, thank you to everyone watching live or watching after the fact. We're so glad that you have joined us. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.